Namaskar, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. So, I welcome all of you to the satsang for today, our Gita satsang of today. Let us start as it is already time. Let us do the prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Shri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Gita satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranatah Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. So we will move to our shloka for today. Shobha, will you recite?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
My son will say this.
Yeah, sure.
Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tavasishyena Dhimata.
Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudam Drupada Putrena Tava Sishyena Dhimata.
Dhanyavad. Thank you, Shravan and Shobha.
Welcome, ma'am.
Yeah. So the translation of this shloka, O Acharya, he says, we have seen in the last class and we will go to today's shloka. Duryodhana says, behold this Acharya, the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by the son of Drupada, your intelligent disciple. So now we will move to the explanation and understanding of this shloka. Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathaaryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityam Achyuta Padambuja Yukma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So in the previous classes, we have seen the first and second shloka. And the last thing that we saw in the second shloka talked about what Sanjaya explained to the Dhritarashtra, right? So now he is explaining further what happens. In the last shloka, we had seen that Duryodhana moved from his place and went towards the Acharya. So today he is telling Dronacharya. Now he has come and stood beside Dronacharya, who is the Acharya, the teacher, the Guru. And he says to the Acharya that look at this great army of the sons of Pandu, of the Pandu Putra. So this army has been arranged in this vyudha, in this formation, in an expert manner. By whom? By Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna, who is your intelligent disciple. So what can we understand from the arrangement of words in this shloka, and also from the kind of words that Duryodhana is choosing to address the Acharya? We can see about this today. So this verse starts with Pashyaitam Panduputranam. So he's saying, look, Acharya, like that. So generally what happens is we address the person first, right? So you should have said, oh Acharya, look at this. But the odd placement of that verb at the beginning of the shloka, at the beginning of the sentence, the Acharyas say that it is giving us a glimpse into the kind of agitation which is there in the mind of Duryodhana. To give you an example, it is told that suppose let us say there is a child which is playing somewhere, and the mother is watching what the child is doing, but she is far away. And let us say the child, the baby crawls towards the puja room and is about to touch the lamp. Then what does the mother do? She will shout out, leave it, leave it, leave it, she will say. Or, go away, move away, she'll say. She will not slowly say, call out the child's name and say, oh, Papu, you please come away from there because that lamp is not good. It is going to be hot. And if you touch your hand to that, you will get hurt. She will not spend time in explaining all that. Maybe she will explain it later. But at first, her immediate reaction will be to move the child away from there. So with that verb form, she will call out to the child, right? She will say, leave it. Or she will say, go away, right? Or she will say, come here, something like that. Similarly, here, when Duryodhana is using this verb pashya at the beginning of the sentence, he's telling, see, he's saying. So why he's saying that see? Because in his mind, there's so much agitation. As we already said in the last satsang, that he did not expect that so many armies, so many of the kings will turn out in support of the Pandavas, right? So seeing this army, he is now scared and he is worried about what is going to be the outcome, right? That again is conveyed by the other words that he uses. He says, Mahatim Chamum. Mahati means big. This army which is so big, he's saying it is a large army. Now, actually, in reality, if you see his own army, Duryodhana's Kaurava Sena, okay, there are 11 Akshauhini. There is some, measure of what is this Akshauhini. It contains so many number of Maharathis, so many number of Rathis, so many number of elephants will be there, so many number of horses will be there with the warriors, so many numbers of foot soldiers will be there, right? There are 11 such Akshauhinis in the Kaurava Sena. And the Pandava Sena has only 7 Akshauhini. So, by any measure, if you look at it, the Kaurava Sena is definitely bigger than the Pandava Sena. And yet, why does Duryodhana say that this large army of the Pandavas? Because the fear in his mind is there. And in that fear, that army which is actually smaller appears magnified. It looks as though it is very large to Duryodhana. We may have also noticed many times when we have some job to be done. And if there is some anxiety in our mind about that job, about that task, then it will appear as though it is really very big. Whereas in reality, it is quite small. Similar is the situation of Duryodhana. That is why he is saying, see the big, large army of the Pandavas. And then when he is calling out to Dronacharya as Acharya, there can be two connotations that we can take here. He says, O Acharya, look at the army of the sons of Pandu. Or it may also be taken as he is saying that, O Acharya of the Pandu Putra, look at this big army. Now here, with this kind of a meaning, we understand the doubts that Duryodhana has. Is he being sarcastic? Is he trying to convey, that you are Acharya of the Pandu Putras? You are probably, partial, or you have some kind of a favoritism towards the Pandavas. So his situation is very odd now. He thinks this Dronacharya, who is my army's commander-in-chief, the Kaurava Sena commander, but the Pandavas who are on the opposite side are his favorite disciples. So will Dronacharya fight wholeheartedly against the Pandavas? Will he be able to actually unleash all the might of the army against the Pandavas? Or somewhere in his mind, will his affection for the Pandavas hold him back from fighting so that the Kaurava Sena wins? This kind of a doubt is also there in the mind of Duryodhana. Then he is saying that this army has been arranged, this Pandava army has been arranged by your intelligent disciple. Dhimata refers to intelligent. Tava Shishya, your disciple, your intelligent disciple. Now, and who is that intelligent disciple? He is the son of Drupada, Drupada Putrena. By the son of Drupada, this army has been arranged. So to understand the significance of this, pointing out to Drupada, we need to go back to the story of Drona and Drupada and the entire reason for why Drishtadyumna was born, or how he came to take birth. So when Dronacharya was very young and studying in the Gurukul of his guru, at that time this Drupada, who was the king of Panchala, we know that Drupada is the father of Draupadi, right? He is the father-in-law of Arjuna and the Pandavas. So this Drupada and Dronacharya were studying together in the Gurukul, and they were very close to each other. They were very good friends. And as the time came, for them to finish their studies and return back to their respective houses, there was this discussion that they had. And at that time, Drupada, in a fit of affection for Drona, he said, after I go back, after my father retires to the forest, I will become the king. And when that happens, you come and stay with me. I will be your friend. I am your friend. I will give you all that I have. That was the kind of statement that Drupada made. And Dronacharya felt very happy about that, and he kept it in his mind. Now, they both went their separate ways, and then both got married, both continued with their duties in life. Drona was a Brahmana, and he was only supposed to do the seva, his dharma was teaching, right? So there was no likelihood of him becoming rich or anything like that. He was a poor Brahmana, which is often that poor is the adjective that was being used always to qualify the Brahmanas. So being a poor Brahmana, he was somehow managing his life. Now he had a child, and we know that son's name was Ashwathama. So once this Ashwathama was, playing with his friends, and he heard them all talking about how they drink milk. So he came home and he asked his mother that, what is this milk? I have never drunk it. So you imagine the poverty of Dronacharya, that he did not have milk to offer to the child. So this Drona's wife, she mixed some rice flour with water, and she made a thin liquid which looked white in color and gave it. And Ashwathama went to his friends and said, see, I also have milk, I'm drinking. And they all made fun of him. But what you're drinking is actually rice gruel. Simply, you don't even know what is milk, how poor your father is, you can't even afford milk. So this child came and narrated that to Drona in tears. And then Drona was moved. He thought, oh, really, because of my poverty, my child is suffering. And thinking, he remembered the words of Drupada Raja, and he knew that now Drupada has become the king of Panchala. So he went to the court of Drupada and he said, oh Drupada, do you remember me? You had promised that you will take care of me, right? You have promised me when we were studying together that you will be my support, that you will be there for me. So now I have come so that you can fulfill your promise. And at that time, Drupada, who has become a king and is in that high position, all that status, all that power has kind of gone to his head. And he says, I don't remember making any such promise. How can it be? Friendship is always between equals. I am a king, I am the Raja, and you are a poor Brahmana. How can a poor Brahmana be a Raja's friend? This is just not possible. I don't remember making any such promise to you. You can go. If you want, I will give some milk for your child, he says. Drona gets so angry by this kind of a treatment, and he feels very insulted that he goes away. Then as time passes, he is made the Acharya of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, right? By Bhishma. So then he trains these Pandu princes, the Kauravas, everybody, but in his mind, that insult which he faced by Drupada is always in his mind. So once these princes have all finished their study, they are supposed to give something as Guru Dakshina. So at that time, he claims from them the Guru Dakshina of having Drupada defeated in battle and brought to him as a slave. So when they do that, very haughtily now Drona speaks to Drupada and says, see, whatever riches you had, whatever Raja you were is of no use now. My knowledge has helped me to train these, Pandavas, and because of that, you are today my slave. But anyway, I'm not so bad as you. I give you half the kingdom back. You can take your half kingdom and go and rule over it. So when Drona behaves in this manner, Drupada feels insulted. And out of that deep desire for revenge, he performs a yajna and he wants a child to be born who will avenge his insult. And there the child who comes out, that boy who comes out, is Drishtadyumna. And it is told, it is prophesied that he is the one who is going to be the cause of the death of Drona. Now, once this Drishtadyumna grows up and becomes older, they come to know that Dronacharya is the most, best Acharya for any Kshatriya. So Drishtadyumna approaches Dronacharya and says, please accept me as your disciple. He narrates his whole background, that he is the son of Drupada. Dronacharya also knows that he is the son of Drupada. He accepts him as his disciple and teaches him but everything that he knows. Dronacharya even knows that Drishtadyumna is the one who is destined to kill him. And yet, with that greatness of heart that is typical of what a Brahmana should have, he is free in giving all his knowledge to Drishtadyumna. So now we understand why Duryodhana is doubly worried. In his army, Dronacharya is the commander-in-chief. He loves the Pandavas. He may not do anything to kill them or to destroy their army. On the Pandava side, the commander-in-chief is Drishtadyumna, who has been born itself for the purpose of killing Drona. And he has been so smart that he has come to Drona and learned from Drona only the art of warfare. So in such a situation, isn't it natural for Duryodhana to be agitated? And being worried about how Drona is going to react now, is that love for the Pandavas going to be stronger? Or is the loyalty to Duryodhana going to be stronger? That is the worry of Duryodhana. And so he says, Drupada Putrena, he brings Drupada into the picture so that that mention of the word Drupada incites an anger in the mind of Dronacharya. That is the reason why he is saying, this army, look at it, it has been arranged so intelligent, so well by your intelligent disciple, who is Drupada's son. So this is the literal meaning of the shloka and the story that goes behind it. What is it that we can learn from this? We have seen throughout that in the last time shloka as well as today's shloka that this fear which is there in the mind of Duryodhana is what has made him restless. It has made him get agitated. So also for us in our life, whenever there is a situation when we are scared of something, when we are afraid of something, that fear makes our mind anxious and restless. And that whatever state of mind we have is what will show up in our behavior. So if we want to change the way we behave, if we want to give up our restlessness, if we want to get rid of our anxiety, then we have to learn to calm the mind. And the only solution to calming the mind is chanting the name of God constantly. How much ever meditation music we may try to play to calm the mind, how much ever we may try to listen to good things to calm our mind, only when the mind changes its samskaras which are deep within, then only the mind will become calm. All the time we see so many things and thoughts keep moving in and out of our mind. From our conscious mind, they move to subconscious mind. From subconscious mind, they move to conscious mind. And with this constant movement of the thoughts, of the impulses, our mind is always in a state of restlessness. So when we spend time in chanting the Lord's name, then we are teaching our mind to focus on one thing. And that one thing is the Lord's name, which is very powerful. So by doing that, as we move our attention away from the other matters of this world towards the name of God, that exercise is what helps us to cultivate calmness in the mind. So that is the most important thing that we must remember. Has my chanting increased? Has the amount of time I spend in chanting increased? Has the quality of my chanting improved? Has the number of times my mind diverts away from the chanting, has that reduced? Am I able to think of God most of the time? These are the questions we should ask ourselves to understand whether we are on the path towards calming our mind. The next thing we can take from this shloka, the small army of the Pandavas, right? It appeared very large to Kauravas, no doubt, but it was a small army. And yet that small army defeated the large army of the Kauravas. Last time itself, we have said how within us is the Kurukshetra, and there is a battle between the good and the bad tendencies or qualities that we have. Now, naturally, because we are in Kali Yuga, the Rajo Tamo Guna is very strong, and due to that, it may appear as if our negative tendencies are much, much larger than our good qualities. And yet, the good within us can overcome the bad or the negative parts, provided we have Krishna on our side. The small army of the Pandavas defeated the large army of the Kauravas with the grace of Lord Krishna. Similarly, if we keep Krishna on our side, if we stand on the side of Krishna, then the good within us will definitely be able to triumph over the bad negative tendencies. From the behavior of Drupada and Drona, right? We saw the story of Drupada and Drona as the backstory to this Duryodhana calling him Drupada Putra. So what we can learn from that story? Many times when we are very happy or we are, in a high mood, we promise something to somebody without thinking carefully about whether we will be able to fulfill that promise or not. That can be harmful. So never blindly make a promise in a rush of emotion. Second thing, based on your social status, never be rude or high-handed with your friends. When something happens good to you, right? And if you have come up in life, there may be some people who came with you during your difficult times. But just because I have today risen higher than them does not give me the right to be rude to them or to insult them. That is not the correct way to go about it. In the Bhaja Govindam, it is told, right? Ma kuru dhana jana yavana garvam haratini meshat kalas sarvam. In a fraction of a second, you can lose what all? Dhana, jana, yavana. These three things. The money you have, the people you have around you, the fame you have, your status, and youth. These are the things that people are proud of. But these same things can go away within a fraction of a second. So never be rude to anybody because I am better off than them. Thirdly, try to understand the other person and see where they are coming from instead of taking offense or feeling insulted by their behavior. Am I making a demand which is actually not correct? Am I right in asking for what I am asking? Is it because of a particular reason that the other person is behaving like this to me? Maybe we can think about these things instead of blindly rushing into feeling insulted or feeling offended by somebody's actions. We must take some time to ponder over what may be the reason for their behavior. And then overall, we need to understand that harboring ill will against someone can only lead to destruction. So whenever you are trying to do some action, if a negative emotion is the motivation for your action and you're acting negatively or you're holding a grudge against somebody, then the outcome of that will only result in destruction for everyone. So it can never take you on the right path. So these are some of the things that we need to keep in mind. And the behavior of Drona, that he taught Drishtadyumna all that he knew, despite knowing the secret of Drishtadyumna's birth. He knew this boy has been born for the purpose of killing him only. And yet, he was not afraid of teaching him all that he knew, of giving that Vidya to him. Why? Because the focus was on doing his dharma and not on the outcome of what he does. So similarly, we also in our life must try to always focus on doing what is right, on doing what is our dharma, and not bother about what will be the outcome of the actions that we are doing. If we are going to do something wrong, we must definitely be bothered about what will be the outcome. But if we are doing whatever is right and whatever is dharma, then we need not worry about the outcome. Rather, we must make sure that we are doing our actions right. So these all are some of the learnings that we can take from today's shloka. So if anybody has questions, we can take them now. You can unmute and ask your questions or doubts if you have anything to say.
In one of the slides, there was written CIC. CIC means?
Sorry, I can't hear. Can you speak a little louder, please?
It's written CIC. I don't know. The previous slides.
Yeah, what happened?
What is the meaning of that? CIC means?
The commander-in-chief. I'm sorry, I put a short form.
Okay, okay.
Commander-in-chief.
So I was from when wondering what is this?
Okay. No. I said the word directly. I mean, I try to shorten the space and put it as a short form. That's it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Ma'am, is Pashya also a Kannada word? Because Pashyatapa in Kannada we say, right?
That
The
is
beginning.
different. That is Paschatapa. That is a different word.
Pashya. Okay.
Paschatapa. That is different. Pashya is to see. It is a Sanskrit verb. So it says, the meaning is to see.
What does Chamum mean? Mahatim you said is large. Chamum means?
Yeah. Chamum means arrangement. The military arrangement. Sorry, Vyuda is the military arrangement. I think Vyuda is the military, is the arrangement, and Chamum is the military, referring to the army. Yeah. Anybody else has anything to ask?
Ma'am, just a small thing. A lot of times we understand like people take advantage of us. We know they are doing it, but yet because of our relationship, because they are elders, we don't say anything. We just do what they want us to do, thinking that okay, it is temporary. I mean, everything comes to an end. We have to do it, but because we keep on doing it, the other person's behavior never changes. And they feel that, okay, we can take advantage of them because they don't understand. They feel that they are buttery talk and flowery talk and we are getting excited by it. But we understand. But it's just that we are not showing it. So how long one should continue behaving like this?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a way out or we should just keep quiet and do our dharma? Because it's our duty, because they are elders, because they are related and all that. And how many times can we just keep on giving benefit of doubt to someone?
Yeah, okay, that's an interesting question. There are two ways of looking at that. One is from the worldly point of view, and one is from the spiritual point of view. So, from the worldly point of view, it is right that we must do the right thing and we must follow dharma and all that. Equally, it is right that we must not let somebody take undue advantage of us. I don't know if you're aware of that story. Once there was a snake, a poisonous snake, which lived in an area, and that snake used to, when children were playing and all that, it would come out and try to bite them and harm them. So they were all scared and they would keep away. People would try to keep away from that tree where the snake was living. But then once there was a rishi who passed by that way, and he saw this snake's behavior, and he advised that snake that this is not correct. You should not be like this. You should not be trying to harm other people. So you should stop behaving like this, right? So that snake took the Rishi's words very strongly to heart, and then it, remained inside the hole only all the time. Slowly the children came out and they started playing, and they started throwing stones at that snake. But that snake didn't do anything to them. It didn't even make any sound. It didn't try to move out. It stopped hunting for food also, and it thought that, okay, I'm trying to be pious and good and all that. And then those children grew even more bold, and they came and hit that snake with sticks and all that, and it was, like almost on the stage of collapse. Again that Rishi passed by that way, and he saw the status of the snake, and he asked that, why have you become like this? What happened? So the snake said, you are the one who advised me that I should be good and not harm other people, and also I have done like this. So then the Rishi said, I told you that you should not bite these people, but I didn't say that you should not hiss. Right? So what you need to do for your self-protection, you need to do that. But harming other people is something that you should not do. So that idea, if we take into this context that you are asking the question about, then we should not do something to go actively out of the way to harm the other person, or to put them down, or to cause trouble for them. But to whatever extent it is required for us to do something in self-protection, to take care of our own well-being, that we need to do. So there we can draw the line on, if you're being good, yes, by being good, what do you mean? If somebody is out to take undue advantage of you, then you need not give in to that. That is not called for. That is the worldly viewpoint. From the spiritual viewpoint, when we look at it, if we learn to develop the feeling that whatever happens, if it is something which is against my will or my wish, that is happening for me to grow spiritually. That is happening for my aham bhav to reduce. That is happening for me to understand that I am not the doer of everything. If we look at it from that point of view, then not doing anything may be acceptable also. That if somebody is trying to take advantage of me, I realize, but I say, okay, I will leave it, because I am trying to become more sattvic. I am trying to get to a stage where I'm not affected by what people around me are saying and doing. So we need to balance between these two viewpoints and these two methods of dealing with the situation. Always it may not be possible for us to just sit quietly and take what everybody throws on us. So at that time, we may need to retaliate to some extent, as long as we are not actively harming the other person and we are only taking care of our self-protection. But we must also be aware that whatever happens, if something is displeasing me, is it that my ego is rising, and because my ego is high, I'm finding it unpleasant? Is it because I want to have my way always, that I don't like what other people are telling, or I don't like giving in to them? So that we need to be constantly checking and balancing, so that we, walk the balance between these two things. So if somebody is trying to take advantage of you, some things, if it is that there is no real harm that is going to come to you, if it is that it's only a question of whether, you get a good name, you get a bad name, or it is something which is a minor thing, which doesn't affect anybody else in any other way, then you can let it go. But if it is something which is important, something which is going to have some other repercussions somewhere else, then yes, you need to take a stand. And if by doing that, whatever the person is doing, that is something which is against the right path, it is against the principles of dharma, then yes, we must put our foot down and take a stand and call them out for what wrong they are doing. Does that kind of give you some better idea?
Yeah, it gives a better idea. But then what happens in reality when we do that? They always and then that name, naming and shaming starts in the family.
Yeah. So that is what I'm saying. If it is that naming and shaming, if that is something which is only going to dent my ego, then I should learn to deal with that. I should let it go and say, it's okay, I will not bother. But if by that action of naming and shaming, I'm going to have some other difficulties in my life, it is going to make things in other areas of my life very difficult, then yes, I will need to take a stand. Again, it should not be cowardice. I should not be, scared of confronting them. And that is why I'm not saying that should also not be there. I should be able to confront somebody, but without getting agitated, without getting worked up, without having negative thoughts about them, but pointing out that wrong action, what they are doing. That is the thing that I should work towards developing.
It is going to take a lot of time to get to that stage.
And it is always, as I said, it's a tightrope walk. You have to balance between this and that, and every situation you may not be able to give the same kind of response. It depends on every context, every situation. It has to be different. So for that, we need to keep monitoring our own thoughts also a lot, because many times when we go into this mode of correcting other people, then we are so much become bahirmukh, that we are only correcting everybody else, and we don't look at what mistakes I am also making in the process, and then that antarmukta will go away. So we need to balance between being extroverted and being introverted, seeing what am I contributing to this, what are my thoughts, am I going on the negative side by doing all this, or what is my stand, what is it, how is it affecting me. We need to think about that also. So we have to take everything one at a time, one step at a time, and we have to keep praying to God that, you guide me. Let me, give me the correct picture so that I'm able to take the correct actions. Guide me constantly and be with me when I make these decisions. Yeah. Anybody else has anything to ask?
When agitated, they say you have to just say, sit in meditation, because most of the time, whatever we do when we get agitated is more of a reaction than the right action. So just that, say, just sitting calmly and thinking will give the right perspective rather than just reacting according to whims and fancies of mind.
Yeah, very true.
Just that, but practically it's very difficult to follow. But most of the times it's just that it calls for some immediate action wherein we have to react to a situation immediately. Maybe in circumstances like that, whatever you suggested, sitting in meditation at least for 15 minutes, 20 minutes in a day, that will bring the mind under complete control. Eventually, in case if it's followed in the long run, maybe it helps in cutting down all these reactions and help us to take the right action. I think maybe just that meditation and chanting Namasmaran of God to start with, maybe we'll be able to take the right decision and act accordingly.
Yeah. Very correct.
Thanks for the wonderful question. Thank you so much.
So it is that when you do meditation, see, sometimes what may happen is we need to increase that gap between a situation cropping up and our reaction to it. Now what is happening is something happens, we react immediately. So our aim should be to increase that time which passes between an event and our response to it. Most of the times our immediate response may not be required, but we have become used to giving that immediate response. So if we can learn to increase that gap, it will be good. And to be able to do that, doing meditation on a regular basis will help us to cultivate that calmness of mind, which will help us to give time between something happening and our responding to that. So we should take time to do meditation, chanting on a regular basis, so that overall the swabhava of your mind changes, so that you become more calm. But it will take a lot of time, because there are so many samskaras within us which have come from so many janmas. So it will take time. We must keep putting efforts with constant prayers to God to help us. So we have less than a minute. Let us offer Kritagnyata. Let us offer Kritagnyata, gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and to join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Namaskar and thank you, everybody. We will meet again next Tuesday as usual.
Thank you, Ansuya ji.
Namaste.
Thank you, Ma.